So I remember, when I was like in third grade, music in the school started, and I wanted to be a trumpet player. So I asked, can we rent a trumpet and or buy a trumpet? And they no, so they just weren't interested in it. So I ended up playing the recorder. So I played the recorder third grade. Fourth grade, I tried it again. Can I play a trumpet? No. Fifth grade, same thing. And went all the way up until sixth grade, and then I just kept playing the recorder every single year, and I became good at the recorder.
Yeah.
And then around I think I went into seventh grade, eighth grade, all the way up, and then I decided I discovered girls, and then the recorder wasn't cool anymore, So I decided to grab it. I taught myself how to play the guitar. So I was probably 13 or 14. And this was like early 70s. I mean, I'm old, okay? So I started learning how to play the guitar. I taught myself, and then I got the guitar down, and I started playing the guitar, and then I got a band in my 20s, and in my into the 30s, and it was great playing all the top hits back in the day, the old days, those 60s music, and then and all of a sudden, it just I got so sick and tired of the bandmates. It was just really a lot of work. It was
Yep.
like herding cats.
Yeah.
I decided, I don't want to do this. So I mean, I've always been interested in art. So when I was in my mid 30s, I started to dabble in oil painting, and then I just started doing art. I had a studio, and I just created art, and then I became a full time artist, a painter, and I did a lot. I did hundreds of shows, and then I did sculptures, matchstick sculptures, and that took off my career, and that took off, and then I was living in Joshua Tree, and I discovered the native flute in Monterey. Actually,
Mm.
in Monterey, I saw a movie with the flute. I mean, I'm Kuya, and Kuya's we don't have a flute in our heritage.
Sure.
In Opata, we're from Arizona. We don't have flute. That's more a different culture. But I fell in love with the sound of that flute, so I bought one. I bought one from High Spirits, and then I went from there, and I just liked it just to play it. It wasn't I had no desire to do anything with it. And then one day I was playing my music to my paintings, because every time I would paint, I'd play my flute to the painting, give it like a blessing. And then one day my neighbor, who was right next door, he can hear the flute music, and he asked me, he goes, "Hey, do you want to do an album?" Because I'm a producer, and I go, "Nah, I'm okay." And then he goes, "No, come on, let's do something." I go, "Well, for a coffee table CD, I figure why not?" I figure my kids can, hey, Dad did this CD. So I did Cloud Runner, and Cloud Runner was my very first album. And then he introduced me. He goes, "I got to introduce you to Michael Mucklow." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, he's a guitarist." I go, "Okay." So we introduced me to him, and months went by. Michael sent me a song. A few months later, it stayed in my email box for probably 2, 3 months, and then I decided to, one day I just picked it up, found the key on it, and started playing it. And I go, "Wow, this is kind of cool," So I called him back, say, "Hey, let's do something. Why not?" So then we ended up doing Ancient Elements. That was in 2009.
Wow.
And so we did Ancient Elements, and then from there, I just didn't want to tour, didn't want to do nothing with a band. It really did not. I just wanted to stay in my studio and paint,
Yeah.
because I was really busy. I was painting a lot of commissions. I was really busy making money, and then I just decided, okay, I'm going to go for it. So then I decided to go ahead and do it, and me and Michael did our first album. It was successful. And then but so that was my second album, and then Michael said, "Let's make some more." So we made a third one. We made a second album between me and Michael, and then it just snowballed. And next thing you know, I'm performing. I had no idea I would be doing this again.
Yeah.
And the thing was is that you're talking about influence. I really appreciate what you said about how I influenced you. I was influenced by other people too, and like. I performed. I went on tour with Arvo Bird once. This has been a few years with the Sharon Shannon band. We toured New Mexico, and it was real interesting because I always admired Arvo because of his music for one thing, but it's also his performance style, the way he was presenting himself, and so that kind of like kicked me into a different level. I said, I was noticing a lot of people were performing with shorts and hats, and at these concerts. And Arvo was so dressed up. He was so sharp.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm going to dress up at my performances, and that's what I did. And I think that kind of changed a little bit. Some people started dressing up a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you're professional. You got to be professional.
Right.
It makes you feel professional. If you're just sitting there, in a pair of shorts and shoes and tennis shoes, it takes away from the professionalism. So that was my way of like changing, my change, um, and um, and so me and Michael continued on, and next thing you know, and then when me and Michael stopped performing together, we did 4 albums, and then I decided to go on my own, and then it kind of snowballed from there. And I had a band, Native Groove band, and
Yeah.
I've had a few bands, Native Groove. There was the Southland, or the Rushingwind project, things like that. So we kind of, as you morph and evolution comes in, you
Yeah.
kind of have a tendency to try out different things.
Yeah.
I love collaborating. I love collaborating with different people. So it's like different cultures.
Yeah.
Uh, so it kind of like snowballed into where I'm at today. And I really feel good that I've helped people, to inspire them to become a flute player. And and I still do my art, especially during the pandemic. I've been painting. I'm in a show right now at a museum. So I'm still doing my thing, doing my sculptures and things like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got the screen up right now that everyone can see. It's the there's this matchstick,
oh, there's a mess.
sculpture,
That's
and
8 feet tall, by the way.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Is like, I mean, that thing has to be. I mean, and if I'm right, you've made smaller ones too, right? Like
Yeah.
you made like little ones, and then like these giant ones for to be indoors and uh, yeah. So I mean, how did you? I mean, I love to know. I mean, was art just kind of something just natural for you, and it was just kind of you just did you just? I guess all of us, when you're an artist, you just randomly kind of start playing instruments and waving wands and things like that, and you just do stuff. But I mean, what kind of got you behind the paintbrush? What got behind what got you behind that? What got you really
Well,
getting into that?
I mean, I started when I was a kid painting. I only painted when I was probably 9 or 10, and my mom and dad would go out and buy me a paint set, like a number set, and I would paint, and then my mom would go, "Oh, that's cool," and then I would find something else to paint on. I would do the exact same painting over again, and my mom would say, "Did I didn't know I bought you 2 of those," and I said, "Well, I just painted that myself," and she goes, "Well, how'd you do that?" I go, "I just painted it." So I mean, I've always loved painting. So and oil paints, my uncle was an oil painter, and he was. I used to go to his studio a lot, and I love this. Just walking the smell of the studio was really inspiring. Just walking in there, and I could smell the studio and all the paints. I mean, I know it's probably toxic, but it smelled good. It smelled really good. I love the smell of toxic paints,
Yeah.
and then so I just, I always wanted to do that. And it was one of those things where I put it off for, I raised a family. I got married young and had 2 kids right away. And, so I mean, a lot of things get put on the back burner, then when in my mid 30s, I was like, okay, I just wanted to do it again. And
Yeah.
so I started painting, and I just fell in love with it. So like when I paint, I paint the way I feel about music. It's the same kind of feeling I have, it's kind of like my safe, my how do you say that? It's like my best friend, kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
rely on it. Art will never forsake you, kind of a feel. So it's always been kind of like my medicine at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh, that and music too.
Yeah.
You have something to go to comfort you. And like in these days we're living right now. I mean, we need something to comfort, and sometimes just being in the studio or painting, or even just smelling oil paints like I did when I was a kid. It
Yeah.
kind of like a memory, that things are
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's funny for whatever reason. It reminds me of, and I'm sure some folks can relate to this. My wife gets it. We we talk about this sometimes. It's like when I was a kid. Every now and again, you'd smell. You'd roll up to the gas station and you'd smell the fumes of gas.
Yes,
You know what
yes,
I
yes.
mean? And it's sweet, and it's terrible. but you'd smell it. And nowadays, every now and again, it's like I'll smell it, and it gives me that mashed potatoes and gravy sitting on my dad's lap, feeling. You know what I mean? It does that thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, like
Oh,
I
totally,
we need to
totally
go
get it.
home and make some ham hocks and beans tonight. You know what I mean? Like that's it's that kind of thing. You know?
But a smell can bring back a memory. I mean, gas when I was a kid, of course, had lead in it, lots of
Right.
lead. So it was, it was ethyl or it was, it was all leaded. But I remember the smell of gas back in the 60s. It was really a nice smell in a weird way.
Yeah, and it's so weird. It's so weird. All right, we got some comments here. Let's see here. So
Excuse me.
yeah, some folks are saying, yeah, absolutely, dress for success. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. This is neat. This is actually, believe it or not, the most successful show that we've had so far. We've had 22 folks hanging out, and now we got about 15 people hanging out, and folks all over the world. So we have Sylvia here. I think she's in Switzerland. How
Yeah,
cool
she's,
is
yeah.
Yeah, how
I,
cool is
yeah.
that? Yeah, how cool is that? So we got Helen here, we got Sarah, we got Lloydine. So we have my mom and my mother-in-law. So I
Hi, mom.
better I better
Hi, mom.
behave. Yeah, we got Dr. Justin Rolifson here. If you haven't heard Justin Rolifson, Stephen, he's a really incredible. He's taken the triple flute, which is kind
Oh,
of
wow.
a newer thing, and he's taken it to like this.
Next level,
Oh
huh?
gosh, it's crazy. So yeah, check him out. He's cool. So yeah, he's hanging out watching us too, and so
Cool.
yeah, and then we have a couple flute makers hanging out. We got Brent Adams here, I think.
Brent.
Yeah, so this is really cool. So yeah, man, that's I mean, thank you for talking about all that stuff, Steve, because I mean, we all got a story. You know what I mean? Like my whole story started with my mom's boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like he just some surfer guy, skateboard guy, moved up from California and had this really crappy classical guitar, and he was just playing Bad Religion songs on it. You know what I mean? Stuff, and I was like, that's awesome. I want to
Yeah,
do that. And that's kind of what it was for me.
that's
And
exactly like my uncle painting. I wanted to be a painter because I like painting.
yeah, yeah, it's so cool. So, if I'm correct, it sounds like hello, hello. Is that Sylvia saying that? I'm guessing it is. Absolutely, Justin. Thanks for hanging out. Everyone just saying thank you and hello and all that.
Hello,
So
everybody.
yeah, if I'm correct, you got something prepared to play for us today?
Yeah, I was gonna do Kuya Sunrise because it's from Among the Ancients album me and Michael did, and I love that song. I always dedicate it to my big brother who passed about 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and it's one of those songs that kind of like ours. It won spiritual album of a spiritual song of the year at the ISMAs, Indian Summer Music Awards, and then that album won Best New Age at the 2013 NAMMYs.
Oh wow.
This song is very dear to me. It's Kauai, because I am Kauai.
Yeah.
That's my heritage. Kauai. My grandmother was full Kauai, and then my grandfather was Opata Indian.
Hmm.
So this song is kind of dedicated to my ancestors, and I just love it. I love playing it. And I'm going to be using the same key you're using, the key
Oh,
of E on the spirit flute.
oh, perfect, perfect,
I got
perfect.
it. I got it right here. This is the same
Yeah.
one. And we got to work on getting you some more of those.
I
So.
love them. Yeah, I love them. I'd really like to try the Spirit drones too. They're yeah.
The spirit. Well, I have like here's a spirit drone right here.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, they're pretty cool. You got. I'll talk to Odell. You got to get some more of those. They're really nice.
yeah. I
So
like them.
let me go ahead and play this.
All right, I'm gonna shut down my microphone and give it to you. All right. Oh, I'm not hearing you, Steve. I'm not hearing you. You're sound. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, how did that
There
happen?
you go.
There we go. Let's start over.
All right.
Here we go.
Wow.
That was Korea Sunrise. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, man. Oh, we have so many comments. People are saying, here, let me go back. We got quite a few. People are saying that they have a spirit drone, for one thing, and they love it. Um, Someone's saying that I got my hands full. That's right, I do. um, Sarah says, what a beautiful song. Um, Brent says, couldn't miss Stephen Rushingwind. Robin Gentlewolf says, beautiful Stephen.
Hey, Robin, how you doing?
And then Sylvia says, Stephen is a great inspiration.
Nice. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brent Adams, he's a really good friend of mine. I mean, we met.
Uh-oh, you froze. Of course. Of course you froze. Hold on, guys. We lost Steve.
We met at the
There he goes.
Tucson.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
Go back.
Yeah. It was the
I, I'm.
internet.
I got real cold there for a minute. I was frozen. I mean, I feel weird. Like, wow, just came out of something. It wasn't the internet. It was me. I froze. What did I have in my coffee? Wow, that was weird.
That's funny. So yeah, well, I mean, oh, and I guess Sylvia says that she can't translate what we're saying on the app or
Oh,
something.
oh, that's
So
well. It's funny because uh, I mean, we all speak the same language, right? The music. That's
yeah,
our language.
that's I mean that's I think that's like that's really what I'm trying to like convey in this show. It's like it's all about music. It's like online. It's all about politics. It's on all the
Yeah,
different thing.
exactly.
Everything is just about this, and we can't even. It's like you can't even like I don't know. Like I think all the news stations are going to go out of business probably pretty soon because there's nothing left to talk about. You know what I mean? So,
What's funny? Because I don't. Nobody pays attention to it.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But it's just I don't know. It's like and like music, regardless. We've like over the last little bit, it's like we've seemed to kind of lost this ability to have conversations and to be civil and things like that. And so it's like I really like this show is it's all about music. You know what I mean? And what you just said like really nails it because I mean Sylvia's here. She's in Switzerland. You know what I mean? We had some folks from the UK here yesterday. Just all over the place. You know what I mean? People are just showing up. I know it'll happen more and more and more. And whether we speak the same language or not, it's like that music. I think that's really why I'm a big fan of instrumental music.
Well,
Um,
it's interesting you're saying that because when I toured Japan about 3 years ago, and it was interesting because I couldn't speak the language there in Japan, but I had translators. But I tell you, the music, it was almost like you're talking to a cousin or your best or your brother even because
yeah,
there was the people there played the flute, and there was that that common ground that we had together, and it was an experience that I've never had before in my life, and I made a lot of good friends there. But it's that even though you can't speak a language, you can't even communicate. You have no idea what you're even saying. But music, I tell you, especially like when Tokyo, I mean, so many places, the crowd, the way I would feel with the energy coming from the crowd, I can totally relate to them. I can talk to them,
yeah.
even though they don't understand a word I'm saying. It
Hmm.
was. pretty incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Have you so I mean, have you been on stage with folks? Just like when like you're on in a band or whatever, and you guys start to feel each other out no matter what. You're not like sitting there like talking. You're like doing these nods and these gestures and stuff, going like, "Okay, here it comes," or "I'm gonna do this," or you know what I mean. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
that's all there, right? All that
Oh,
stuff is there.
exactly, absolutely. When you're in a band setting, and sometimes I
Oh, he froze again. We froze again. Give him a minute, guys. He'll be right back. He'll be right back. In the meantime, and we'll go back, see if he's back. He's
am
back.
I back?
He's back. Perfect.
I just went on to it must be the 70s, flashbacks or something like that. So don't worry about it. I mean, I grew up in the 60s and teenager in the 70s. So what do you want?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I bet that
I
was
wish you
fun.
would freeze at a good face frame. I mean, I always got the stupid look on my face when I freeze. I mean, why is that?
Right.
Why can't I have like a
Right. Yeah.
no? I've
Have
got
your
to freeze.
pipe ready. Yeah, have your pipe ready so you just go.
There you go. When I know it's gonna freeze.
That's
But
funny.
anyways, yeah, talking about the band setting, yeah, you do have an unspoken language on stage.
Yeah.
You really do. I mean,
Yeah.
and then when you're with the band and you're with them a lot, you almost could read each other's minds because you're touring and you know each other. It's a good feeling. It's good to be like in that situation.
Yeah.
You Um, because we talked about like Nelson Reels. He's pretty much my partner in the Native Groove band, and we know I know him so well, and he knows me so well, so that when we're performing, he knows exactly where I'm at, and that's what's interesting. He knows where I'm at, and I know where he's at. And then when you add in the rest of the band, like Adam Revere, when we played with him, he was excellent. Everybody kind of like just knew what we were going to do next. Um, it's a good feeling. It's one of those things. If you haven't been in a band setting, I really do recommend it. Keep it simple though. Like I've kind of gone a little too far, but I've had 12 people on stage at one time. I mean, this is too many.
Yeah.
Uh, I was getting complaints from some of these places where like, we can't afford you anymore, because you got too many people.
Yeah.
So sometimes simple is good. You know, Me and Michael Mucklow, we had these award shows that just came out, the JPF Awards, which just they've been around for a long time since the '80s. People don't know who JP. I didn't even know who JPF
Mm-hmm.
was. It's called Just Plain Folks. But Michael submitted us about 3 years ago, and all of a sudden now they're coming out with the awards, and we won for best native song, best album, and the song we got was Kauai First People, which is another song I'd done.
Mm.
It was interesting because they had 17,000 albums submitted and 230,000 songs submitted. So it was really an honor to have won both of those Native Award
Yeah. Wow.
um, categories. But the thing is, me and Michael we were talking, and we're considering doing the fifth album, and we're gonna keep it simple. I mean, we really sometimes simple is less is more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
really is.
I think I say it almost every time here. It's like I tell this story about that Herbie Hancock. I heard a story that Herbie Hancock told about when he was touring with Miles Davis, and and um, and he basically like was having troubles with the solos, and in a loud drunken crowd in a bar, he goes, "Man, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble." He goes, "Man, don't play the butter notes." And that's not actually what Miles said whatsoever, but it was
Oh,
loud, and that's what Herbie heard. And so for the entire rest of the tour, he left out the ones, the threes, and no, the ones, the fours, and the fives of
oh
all
wow,
of his, you know what I mean? And so of all of his scales, he left out the ones, the fours, and the fives.
wow, that's interesting.
And so because that's what he thought he heard. But it brought him into this whole new place. And so it's like you hear that, music is, it's not where the notes are, it's where the notes aren't. You know what I
Right,
mean? It's,
exactly. Yeah.
you know, it's like it's the space between. It's that stuff. It's you know, there's you can get as, you know, you can get as Ingve Malmsteen as you want to, or as technically as crazy as you want. You know what I mean? And that stuff's fun to listen to. Like honestly, like I love that. Even like the crazy symphonies and stuff. It's a lot of fun to listen to because it's inspiring to like get better.
Yes.
But as a listener, like when I'm listening to music, it's all about the song, you know what I mean, and playing for that song, you know what I mean, and
That's
that's
a
my
good
favorite
point.
stuff.
That's a really good point because you can be technically like you're mentioning the symphonies. They play, they read the music and they play. It's inspiring, like you said. But sometimes the feeling of music should kind of like come out. You should have more of a feeling. There's two kinds of music. There's technically good, great music, and then there's also spiritually feeling type of music, and
Right.
um, that's what I try to do. I'm not a very proficient flute player. I don't think I am, but I try to capture the feeling of a song. It's like when I do my paintings, I feel when I paint. I don't just paint technically, like, oh, here I put the color here and there. It just happens. When I'm done with a painting, I'm thinking, how did I even do this? Because I don't even remember. I just feel it. So music's kind of like that with me too, and that's why that's a good point you bring up because it's like, you can hear music and it's entertaining, it's exciting, but it doesn't really move your soul. It just kind of inspires your brain,
Yeah.
and you want to inspire the heart,
Right.
and I've always strived to try to inspire the heart, even though I hear other flute players are technically superior than I am. I mean, but you bring soul in your music, brother, and you really do. You can feel your passion. It's not like you're just playing tech, but you're technically really good.
Thank you.
But you do have that. You have the combination of both, which is really really good. I mean, it's. I have to. I give you credit for that. You have the technical, but you're also very heart coming from the heart. You can feel it, and
Wow.
that's what I admire about you. And when I first heard you, well, you came on the scene. I'm thinking, who's this guy? I like hearing new people coming in, and I'd heard you, and I'm like, I called Odell right away. I go, hey, have you heard this guy Tommy Graven? I mean, it's like this guy's just amazing, really. So I mean, so Dal heard you, and he was like, wow, yeah, he's really good. So you brought something else. I mean, you're of course you're younger and you have that the mentality of the new stuff, the loop
Sure.
pedals. I
Sure.
mean,
Sure.
I'm an old school guy. I'm still having to figure out what a loop pedal is yet. I want to do what you're doing one of these days.
Right.
It's
Right.
like
Right.
when I grow up, I'm going to be like Tommy. So it's one of those things where you're like, wow, that's pretty cool what he's doing. And you've inspired me to want to get back into the guitar because I've stopped playing the guitar,
Hmm.
and I play, and I was watching you play at one time. This is about a year ago or whatever, and I was like, wow, this guy's really good. I really like what he's doing with the guitar, and maybe me and you one day we should do a single together. That
We
would be kind of
definitely
cool.
should. Oh my God. Are you
But
kidding me? I would
but
love that.
you really have that, and a lot of people do too. But some people get kind of caught up in the technical part of the flute.
Yeah.
They want to hear make all these fancy notes, and that's all good. Nothing wrong with that. It's great to do those things, but just don't forget the soul. Don't
Mm-hmm.
forget the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to come from. It's
Yep.
like when people tell you when you're singing, you sing from the diaphragm, right? You sing from the diaphragm up. You don't sing from your throat.
Right.
Same with the flute. You don't play flute. You just don't play it because it's technically great. You play it from here, this is the heart. You play it from the soul, and it comes out, and you have your voice, and that's what you want to do. You want to capture that voice. Well, that's my advice to people that are learning how to play the flute. Learn it technically. You have to learn technically. Of course, you have to. You have no choice.
Yeah.
But try to capture the heart of the music, not just the technical, fancy, little bending notes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. 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 I've when I first started, um, I mean, I think like most of us, when we first like, all I wanted to do was hear that vibrato, and I wanted to hear all the little pops and chirps and all those. You know what I mean? I wanted to hear all of that, and that's what it had to be. You know what I mean? It needed to be, it needed to sound like a scene transition in a Bonanza. And if it didn't sound like that, then it wasn't going to work for me. You know what I mean? So I was very, I needed to have those sounds right away. You know what I mean? And
No, I
I
understand
was
that.
just impatient, you know. And now it's I really it's it's funny like now like I'm very very comfortable in playing long notes with no vibrato whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it's like it's just all about it really is all about playing the song, and it's very nice to be uncomfortable to learn all those parts. I think being uncomfortable is one of the biggest blessings that we have.
Yeah,
To
I
be
agree.
uncomfortable, to learn all those parts, and to sit down and to kind of like have it all be your fault. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
okay, this is my fault. I got to do this. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And then you go for it and you learn all that technical stuff. But just like, I mean, every jazz teacher in the world will tell you, like, yeah, music theory, learn all of it, get really good at all the technical stuff, and then forget it all, and
exactly.
then
I
play right
agree
here.
100%.
You know what I mean? And then this is where it should come from. But sometimes if you just do it with here without no skill, then it's just gonna honk, right?
I totally agree with you. And it's interesting. When I was in Japan, there was this other flute player that was there. He's a pretty much of a star in Japan, and he's really. I've never seen anybody play the flute like him. I mean, this guy was just crazy. Like, wow, how do you even do that?
Yeah,
And and I was really in awe of him. And so, but I toured, and he played a couple of gigs, and he performed too as well. But he came up to me with a translator, and he told me that he goes, I really feel your music. And he was trying to tell me that he wished he can play like that. And I just didn't understand what he was saying. I mean, I'm technically so inferior to what he used to be, what he was.
right.
But I just understand. But then I got it later, and I was like, oh, okay. I get what he's saying. But he so you could be fancy and great, but you got to really, it's got to come from the heart. And I think it helped him, I think, because I think he moved on and he started to become more into performing with a heart. And because the guy was amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
he really is. I mean, it's
yeah.
unbelievable. So I mean, it's never too late. Don't ever feel like, well, I can never capture that. Yes, you can. and
Yeah,
and some people who capture the heart and they're not technically good, that's okay too. I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah,
it's your voice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you are, how technical you are. We all contribute. I listen to people play on their, especially with a pandemic. Everybody's got their their phone on and all that. There's so many beautiful players out there. I
yeah.
mean, they really are, and they all bring something. I don't care. They don't have to be great. Their voice is great.
They
You
just
know
need
what
to
I mean?
play.
That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
yeah, yeah,
It really does.
yeah.
That's all that matters.
You know, it's
Everybody out there that's playing, keep it up because it's you don't know who you're touching.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I mean, like like I'm a professional, right? So
Yeah.
what that's supposed to mean something or whatever, but it doesn't, and all it means is that this is just what I do for a living. You know what I mean? but
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. That's really all it means. But it's the hard. Everything you just said is like that has been the hardest thing for me in this business, in writing songs, and all of it is really just getting out of my own way, and and letting it be okay. You know what I mean? Letting whatever I create, letting that be okay, instead of like being in my head thinking 34 steps ahead, like, well, I'm not even going to think about posting this to Facebook because, oh my God, because then someone's going to see it and then someone else is going to see it and they might tell so and so, and oh my God. And you know what I mean? Like you start comparing and contrasting and all these things instead of honoring like how sacred you are. You know what I mean? I always say like no one could be you as good as you can. We're all sacred. This is I'm perfect. You know what I mean? Like in this way. I mean, I'm not perfect and I'll mess up every day, but like Creator didn't mess up. You know what I mean? That's what I'm messing. You know what I mean? Like Creator didn't mess up. You know what I mean? Like this is who I am, and it's and that's the hardest thing. That's been the hardest thing for me, is to let it be okay and be confident enough to sit here and do all this stuff and to contact Stephen Rushingwind and you know what I mean. All of these things. It's like it's really, that's been the hardest thing for me, and I'm finding out more and more from musicians that are doing this is that really is it. Is like learning how to get out of your own way and to choose those smiles and to choose that happiness and to go for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Um,
mean, and that's true because we I always tell people, if you start if your basics are from the heart, everything else is inevitable. It'll all come out. Like
yeah,
with you too, I mean, you started out a certain way, and if your music is true and it's pure and it's got good, everything else will fall into place. You don't need to worry about it because your whole thought process, your heart is pure and your music is pure. So all the other stuff will come in. It
yeah,
just takes time,
yeah,
and it's like being on a journey and you're going down, or I always consider like being on an inner tube going down a river. You just float and it takes you wherever it bumps into what rock, and you just keep going. Let it take you. Don't force it. Don't try to make you go to the other side. Let it hit that rock.
yeah,
Just follow the trail, and you're gonna get there. That's what a lot of people, where they want to be like on stage. They want to be winning awards right away. It's like, I want to be where you're at. They always say, you gotta start somewhere, and don't worry about those awards.
yeah.
Don't worry about all that other stuff. It all comes when it comes,
Right.
and it comes when you're ready. Sometimes you might not be ready for it, and the universe, if you put it out there in the universe, sometimes the universe will give it to you when you're ready for it, and it might take a little while. And but if you're patient and you're doing it and you have pure heart, all these things add. They all come in when they come in. It's
Yeah.
not like you have to sit there and force it, because you got to enjoy the journey. The result and the end results is it's just the end result, but
Yeah.
the journey is the fun part.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really
So
is.
someone told me one time, they're like, hey, have you ever swam across a river from bank to bank? I'm like, yeah, I've done that a few times. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, think about it like this. Instead of just focusing on getting to the other side, like, enjoy that swim. You
Yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean? Instead of like, oh my God, I gotta get there. Like,
Yeah.
and like, hurry to get there. It's like, no, well, look, you're in this nice water with all these natural minerals and yumminess and medicine. I mean, water's the first medicine. You're in the first medicine jamming. You know what I mean? So there's this whole thing, to be in that moment, to be here now, and to enjoy every
Oh,
single now that we have.
good analogy. Yeah, exactly. That's how it is.
Yeah. So, well, gosh, let me look at this chat here and see if we have any questions. And guys, if you do have any questions before we let Steven go, I'd love to fire them out. You guys have been basically talking about yourself. They're all talking about like what we're talking about amongst themselves. So like they're talking about the technique versus playing from your heart, and basically
Both both
exactly
are
what we're
both
saying.
are important. I mean, don't,
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I
yeah,
mean,
of
you have to
course.
have both. So
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, I mean they're basically just agreeing with everything that we're saying, and um, someone's taking notes. Sarah's taking notes. Yeah, Justin says it all depends on your goals for when you play music. If you're enjoying music and how you play. Yeah, I mean, really, that's huge. 'Cause I like what you said, Stephen, when you said that. When people just say, I just want to be where you're at. It's like, well, like I can never be where you're at because I need to be where I'm at. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
and and your journey will take you where you want to go.
Right, right, and it's gonna
It'll
change.
be different, but it'll be good.
Yeah, it'll change all the time, and it's like I don't know. I'm really starting to look. I used to. I'll just be honest. I used to be a pretty like bah humbug person about everything. I would just kind of be like anytime something wrong would happen in quotes, you know what I mean. I would just kind of like, oh man, well I can't do that now because of this, bleh, that kind of thing. And now I'm like, anytime that happens now, I'm like, well maybe I can't do that because of this, but
Right.
I can do it this way, or you know what I mean. Like there's always another opportunity. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for every opportunity, and it's just looking at it in a different way. And
Yeah.
and
I
man,
mean,
this is yeah,
exactly. No, no, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so yeah, so you've really inspired me, and it doesn't really look like we have any questions. People are just like really stoked that you're here, and this is really awesome, and they love the music, and they're just kind of talking about our conversation about technical and everything else. Um, I
Well, I
don't.
mean, like we can talk a little bit about the flutes. I have my Sagittarius flute. I don't know if you can see this, but
Oh,
it's
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's a Sagittarius.
Yeah, that's
It's
the new line he's doing, right?
huh?
That's the new line that Odell's doing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're your sign.
Hmm.
So when you go on a date, you can say, "What's your sign?" Oh, here, you just give them the flute.
It's right here.
Here's my sign.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, it's kinda cool. I mean, there's the spirit flute's been successful. I mean, I play other flutes too. I mean, like um, Mad Max is one of the flutes that I love.
Hmm.
He plays. I have a few of his flutes that I use still. But Odell, I mean, with the high spirits, we've had a friendship together, and he's a great person. He's like my brother now, um, and his flutes are a lot of people, oh, he's mass produced and all that. But if you really get to know Odell, he really just wants people to put a flute in your hand.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a mass, well, okay, fine, it's mass. Then that way, more people get the flute in their hand.
Right.
But he's never talks bad about any flute makers. He's always been really good in about like Mad Max. One time we were at a gig. I was at a gig one time, and Mad told Odell that that he plays some of my flutes too. And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that." And I do. I have a couple flutes that from Mad Max that I will never part with. They're
Yeah.
they're the perfect flute. I recorded a lot of good songs with those flutes, and I still use them all the time. And
Yeah.
then Brent Haynes is another one. I have some flutes of Brent's. His are fantastic.
Hmm.
There's so many flute makers out there that create these flutes. It's not about better. They all have a voice. You can have a
Yeah.
G. You can have a G. You got F minor, or F sharp, whatever, and it you can have two of the same key from two different makers, and they sound different.
Right.
They have a voice. They have
Yeah.
their own voice. So
Yeah.
that's and High Spirits was my first flute I ever played, and I
Me
know some
too.
people criticize them, but they're excellent flutes. Um, they're well made, and I tell you one thing: when I was recording an album years ago, um, I got in trouble because I had a flute that was out of tune really bad,
Hmm.
and I didn't know what to do. It's like, wow, what do I do? So I went to this local, store in Claremont, California, and they had the high spirit flutes there. I go, I need a key of D, and they go, well, this is what we have. And I go, I got it. I didn't even have to tune it. I just went straight back to the studio,
Worked.
got it, recorded it, and it was spot on.
Yep.
Because I knew it was not going to be out of tune. Because I knew
Yeah.
I can count on high spirits.
It's really weird that I mean, I've heard a lot of the negative talk too. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's um and it's like when I first got into the world of it, you know what I mean? I think like with anything, you know what I mean, you kind of when you first get into the world of something, you kind of become like a hipster a little bit, you know what I mean? And you just kind of like want to, just kind of hate on all sorts of stuff, you know what I mean? And so I remember kind of, thinking like that, but my first three flutes were high spirits flutes, and that's what I played for a really long time. But I never like those were my flutes, so I wasn't gonna like hate on the flutes that I have. I love my flutes, and the service was awesome. And my wife bought me my third flute. That's a big deal when your wife buys you something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I never had anything bad to say to them, and now I have way more than three high spirits flutes,
Right.
and that's what I say about every single one of them they're the most reliable flute there is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what's really cool, I mean, so the new spirit flutes, they're a different beast, but they're the same, but they're different. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I know to grab that if I want it to be like this soft, like this specific, because I know what it feels and sounds like now. You know what I mean? So I know to grab it because I have several E flutes, but I'll grab that for something specific.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
certain tonality to it. Yeah.
yeah, and I really like it. And then I have one of Odell's signature G's. And I was really so I have a G.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
have
this
it.
is this is just one of his signatures,
Yeah, I
and
have it. It's a nice flute. That's a good flute.
yeah, it's a madrone,
Hmm.
which is cool. I'm in Ashland, so this is where these trees are.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't expect it to play different than the regular G because I have another G from High Spirits too. This is the one my wife bought me, right? So this is just a aromatic cedar with the turquoise in it. It's a G, awesome. And then this is my signature G,
Hmm.
and the signature G is a little bit shorter, and I didn't really expect it to play different, but it totally does. It
Yeah.
totally does. It's a totally different flute, in the way
Let's,
it sounds, in the way it operates, everything.
yeah.
Um, so
It's
yeah,
some have a softer, more feel to it than the others. Some are really sharp, like a walnut would be like a sharp sound. Cedar would be more warm.
yeah,
It
yeah,
just depends on the wood tonality too, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. I was really, I mean, I was really impressed with that signature one because I just never thought that I'd be able to ever have a chance to play one, honestly. And I didn't. If in my maybe my hipster brain, you know what I mean. I was just going like, come on, like, how could a signature? I mean, it looks like the same flute on the website. You know what I
right.
mean? And then it shows up, and you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah,
Oh, I mean, it really is. A signature high spirits flute is a totally different flute, and to me, like, I would say, I like it better
yeah,
than the regular G. But at the same time, the regular G is perfectly in tune whether I go to, I mean, I'm in Ashland, so I'm already in the mountains kind of, but I can go all the way up to the mountains or I can go to the desert and it's going to work in every studio.
right,
And,
right, exactly.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And there's not a lot of flutes you could say that about. And personally, me, when I hear them that they're mass produced, to me, I think that's the coolest thing ever
Mhm.
because I'm like, that means just like you said. You mean, oh, more people get flutes? Awesome, great. Everyone
Well,
should have a
but
flute.
I do love the makers. You know, there's a lot of makers out there that are they just hand make them, you know, and they go one at a time, and those are great too. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, I've got a few from like Jim Bixel from from California here. He makes it. I mean, matter of fact, one of his flutes that I have. I've played a lot of songs on with his flute. It's even got my fingers are worn out on the wood. You know, that I played that flute so many times,
yeah,
and it's sometimes you can get one flute from somebody and it's a perfect flute. You
yep,
know, and just the way it is. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I work with a man named David O'Neill from Rising Moon Flutes, and his flutes are. I mean, I got a handful of them. But this is a E, and they're just really, really, really beautiful. He's in North Carolina, and
that's
same kind of thing. You know, he makes them one at a time. He's a one man show. He's in his 60s,
right.
just kind of doing it slow, doing what he's doing. And I love his flutes. You know what I mean? And like, and I really like what you said earlier too. Is like, I love every single. I have flutes that literally are they're in tune with themselves, but you couldn't really play them with something else.
Right.
Um, but I love those flutes, man. Like every single flute, even the ones that like aren't even tuned right. It's like I've learned them to find where I will like it, and I play them, and I play every single one of my flutes. You know what I mean? And I like them all, whether who made them or whatever there is. You know what I mean? They're all like, I mean, this is a really neat one. Bruce Becker made this. He's a one man show in Colorado, and this is my only 5 hole flute, and it
Well,
has like this old, you know, has the old school big
oh,
mouth. You know what I mean? Super
that's
Lakota, and it has even that sound. You know, has that old
nice. Yeah.
school sound. It's just, I
Right.
mean, they all have their own thing. You know, and
That's the beauty of it. My first drone was a guy from Yucca Valley, and he made a drone. And it was a beautiful drone. I had it for many years, and then he just felt so inferior. He didn't want to make any more flutes, but I was like totally blown away by what he did. You know, and because I had a good friend named John Stillwell that lives up in Yucca Valley. He makes
yeah, I've heard him.
flutes, and he's an excellent. I have still have his flute. Matter of fact, I have a flute that I use that I recorded a lot of my songs in the beginning. I still use it. I still use his flutes because you have these flutes that are personal and they belong to you. You can't just because you're represented by a company doesn't mean you're not going to play the flutes that you're they're part of your family. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right. Yeah, yeah. They become your cousins. You know, they really are. It's like,
They do. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, you really like you kind of understand how they all react and like you even feel them change. You know what I mean? Because all flutes like their personalities change over time. You know what I mean? You get, between wet out and this and that, and you know what I mean. You got to re-oil them and all that kind of stuff to make them nice. But even then, their sound changes over time. You know what I mean? It's like they kind of break in a little bit or something. Maybe that's what it is. Kind of like my guitar. Like I work with Breedlove Guitar too, and I have this Myrtlewood guitar,
Right.
coolest thing in the world. But when I first got it, it was like fresh. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
really had to play that thing for like 2 months to really. Now it's like,
It's,
it's like an old Chevy. I could just get in it and
yeah, it melts in your hand when you do
yeah,
your hand.
yeah, yeah,
It's like that's just like anything else. I mean, I got so many flutes now. It's unbelievable, and it never gets old getting a new flute. It
yeah.
never does. It always like, wow, it's like a new baby coming in.
Oh yeah. No, I'm always excited. I mean, yeah, I'm always like,
Yeah.
this is the latest. Look
Yeah.
at this crazy thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is made by
I
my
don't even know
friend.
where to begin on that one.
This is so we have E, and then B, which is your 5, right? Which is your fifth.
Yes,
But then you have plugs on every single one, so you could tune it however you want to.
that's crazy.
Yeah, so this was made by Dustin Selva of Elemental Flutes, who is here, I believe, in the chat. I think so.
Wow,
Yeah, and he's in North Carolina. I think he was in Hawaii for a while. But
that's
him and his wife and their
fantastic.
babies are living out there making flutes, and this thing
That
is.
that almost much makes you get on stage and say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, like pull it out from underneath a
Say
big.
hello to it and just play it.
Yeah, pretty.
Wow,
It's
that's
pretty
incredible.
cool. It's overwhelming though. I mean, so it was designed. Dustin Selva made it, but it was designed by Justin Rolofson, the guy I was talking about earlier, who's playing the triple, and so they work together, and they're working to make these new triples. And if you notice, like one of the totems is down lower, so you kind of have it like a keyboard. You know what I mean? It's just
That's totally incredible.
yeah,
Wow.
and like
That
Justin and
that
Dustin, they're doing these things where like they're like cross, like they're doing stuff like that. It's like
I don't know if my brain can ever actually
no,
place
it's
like
it is the next generation of awesomeness. It's
I
like the
I think
next
it's the next generation of awesome. I have to
yeah,
agree with that. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Wow.
It's really neat. It's really neat. So
It's
um,
kind of good to see that because it's nice to see that flute makers are pushing the limit. They're thinking outside the box basically. And
yeah,
that's what you want.
yeah. Dustin's really neat. He's even figured out a way to how like you'll have a lot of flutes that are in 440 hertz or
Yeah.
432. He's figured out a way to where he could give you the same flute and then give you separate blocks. Like, oh, you want to be in 440? Here, you're in 440. Change your block. Here's another
Wow.
block. You're in 432. He's yeah. So you don't have to buy two flutes. You just have to buy one flute and have two different blocks.
Man,
So
that is neat. That is so
yeah,
cool.
just neat stuff like that. You know what I mean? And he's really into sound healing and knows about frequency and stuff like that. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Um,
Yeah, that's amazing because we need that. We need people to keep pushing the envelope. It's
yeah.
like you don't want to always stay. I mean, the flutes traditionally. I mean, like when I play the drone, people think, "Oh my God, that sounds so native," but it's not.
Right.
It's
Isn't that
the
funny?
opposite of what tradition is,
Yeah.
and it makes me laugh when people say that. Hollywood wise, maybe it does, but
Right.
it's just not. It's just
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that realistically the drone's flute's kind of a gimmick. You know what I mean? Well, whatever. You don't want to say it like that, but it's a
No,
newer
but
thing.
it's got a pleasant sound.
Oh,
I mean,
I
really,
love the drone. I am a drone fanatic. Yeah.
listen, we do love that sound.
Yeah. Oh
We
God.
have to, but yeah, no, I mean, and when projects, like I got some projects coming up. I just did an album with Thomas Matrango. It's in the can right now. We're going to release it pretty soon. But it's very blues. It's a
Mm.
very super blues album, and I got a high D from Odell that's gonna it fit perfectly in one of the songs.
Mm.
So speaking of these different types of flutes, you got to try to experiment with high flutes, low flutes. I mean, whatever works. But um, try. My advice to people like out there is like I've collaborated with so many different culture type of being native. I've did an album with a Norwegian artist. The guy is amazing. Um, and we did an album together, and it's only got like 6 songs, but it's like one of the most powerful albums because it's got such a feel to it.
Wow.
And so, you never know who. That's why I always think outside the box, like these flutes you're looking at. Try to collaborate with other people, other cultures, because that's where you'll find, like we talk about the music as a universal language, right?
Yeah.
So, well, then what's wrong with collaborating with somebody across the world? You know what I mean? It brings in flavors. It's like mixing a food. You get the nice flavor of different cultures, and it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
And so, like Thomas is more. I'm not a blues player, but Tom brought the blues with me to me, and this is more authentic blues. And so, and matter of fact, me and him did an album. We did a song for the theme song for the Southwest Stories with Steve and Steve, which is a PBS show that I'm co-hosting.
Yeah.
So we did that song, and it's we were inspired by the Good, Bad, and the Ugly song. And matter of fact, I did a gig, and we decided to do that song. When you have really talented musicians, you can play anything you want.
Right.
So we actually played that cover song, and we fell in love with that sound, that spaghetti western feel. And so we did a song for the new show. Of course, then the pandemic hit, and we had to put everything on hold. But we're
Right.
still going to be hitting the road probably, hopefully this year, and finish off the PBS show. But it's been a neat journey, and it just seems like it never ends, which I hope it never does.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm I don't know, this whole thing with music and just networking and community and everything. It's like I don't know. It's just my biggest passion in life. You know what I mean? And I mean, I say it all the time that, it's funny. It's Steve Harvey said it actually and he goes, he's like, if you go after what you can't help but do,
Yeah.
that's your best path to success. And success isn't always just happiness. You know what I mean? The pursuit of happiness is a beautiful thing, but there's more to life than just that,
I agree with that
and
100%.
yeah, and it's I don't know. So I always kind of thought Steve Harvey was kind of funny, and then one day he just said it on television, and he just kind of, what'd you just say? Okay, well, I guess he's one of my elders now, and there we go. That's the way that works.
When people first start out, you have a different mindset, and as you get more into your career, I mean, I can attest to this because when I first started, I mean, I wanted to play from the heart, but I mean, you get caught up in the awards. You want this, you want to be nominated, you want to win, and those things are great, but it's not the end result.
Right.
And I look back at my career, and it's like I've been in a lot of bands, done a lot of things, but what keeps me going is just the music. It's just the simple, everyday music. It's not about the fancy awards or anything. It's just helping somebody have a good day.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the day when this lady wrote me from Mexico, and she said that she was ready to end it all. She was going to go out in the ocean and just be done with it.
Mm.
And then she came in, and she had my first album, The Cloud Runner, and she put it on, and it just took her out of that feeling.
Yeah.
She felt despair. And then she says, "Thank you for your music." And that changed me when I read that email, because that's when I realized this is powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a friend tell me, you have a powerful gift, and there's a responsibility that goes with it. You can't abuse it. Don't
Mm.
ever abuse your gift. So I realized from that moment on that I'm making music to help people, not just make them feel like, oh, this is cool. I love the way it's. No, you want them to help them mentally, because we're going through a lot, and that's really important.
Yeah.
I really do feel that's important.
Yeah.
We got to keep that in our minds. That why? What's our motive? Like you asked, why did you come? Why did you become a musician? When my first, I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to be a star.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
but when you hit a person that says, "God, I would have ended my life if it wasn't for your music," that kind of like changes things a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, so
Yeah.
that was a big turn for me, and that was quite a few years ago. And ever since then, it kind of like changed my course of how I feel.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's my background is, I mean, when I was a young man, I did construction, and then I went into social work for about 15 years in Portland, in downtown Portland. Uh, and it was pretty brutal, and I got out of it, and now I'm not doing it anymore. And one of the hardest things about getting into music is I've always wanted to do music for a living, but you have to like battle that ego. You know what I mean? To where it's like I can't take myself seriously, because if I take myself seriously, then people are going to think I'm an egomaniac, because like I'm selling myself and da 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 da. But then I switch and I'm like, you know what? I'm a social worker. Like I've been helping elders, homeless veterans and their families. I've been doing this. I've been, the homeless community. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been helping my community for 15 years. This is also social work. This is a service. You know what I mean? And I never really thought about it in that way, that this is truly a service that I'm providing.
I
Because I realize, like, when I go to the car, and if I'm in a bad mood or in a great mood or whatever the mood is, like I could put on some music that's gonna like get me through it. You know what I mean? Whether it's crazy death metal that I listen to in private that no one knows about, and now they do, or it's instrumental this or native or whatever. I listen to all sorts of stuff, and I'll pick it for certain moods for what I'm going through. You know what I mean? And I realized that, I sat down and really realized that all of these musicians are providing this incredible service to me. You know what
right.
I mean? Like literally, like I'm struggling, and so I could put on this band's music or this artist's music, and like now my
Hmm.
day's a little bit better. You know what I mean? Whatever, even if it's just cooking dinner. You know what I mean? Maybe my recipe made it because I'm being jazzy, whatever it is. You know what I mean? But I really realized that, and I am providing a service, and it made me kind of gain a whole level of confidence in myself to really push and to really, like you said, take responsibility, and of course play for my heart and do what I got to do, but also make sure it's good for out there. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's neat stuff.
Yeah, you want to make sure. Yeah, and there's a lot to do. When you mentioned that, what comes to my mind when you said that, it's almost like, okay, so when I used to do these when we had the like native rhythms, we would do we call them workshops. And there's one thing that I was teaching is like, you got music, but when you want to play it, when you want to record it professionally.
Yeah.
You kind of made it sound, that's what you kind of like what you said. You got to put it out there, but it's got to be right.
Right.
A lot of people record, in their bedroom or whatever, and then they're done. They put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not. There's so much more involved in just making a song on your garage band or whatever it is.
Right.
You really have to have professionals look at it, master it,
Yep.
have it so that it's polished. There's really a lot to be, getting your song and polishing it up and then putting it out into the world, because then it becomes, the flavor becomes even more intense,
Mm-hmm.
and like you were saying, it's got to be right,
Yeah.
you know, and that's one thing you want to, if you're going to do it right, just do it right.
Yep.
And it's important. I mean, I know it's more like technical, it's stuff like that, but when you put out really good stuff and it's recorded really well, it gets noticed. That's my advice to a lot of people that are starting out. They want to do an album, do it right. Get somebody who's a professional master.
Mm-hmm.
Record on good equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You might spend a little bit of money, but it's really worth it. I mean, I'm a Grammy voter, and a lot of times you listen to music so you can vote in the Academy, and sometimes if it's really bad, it's almost like you just toss it. You just no, it's just not, quality's not there.
Right.
But when you hear a song that's pristine, it's got really good feel to it, and and you can tell the person's really, like you said, dressed for success,
Yeah.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's the same for your music. It's no different. Your
Yeah.
music's got to be dressed for success as
Yeah.
well. And people, you got judges out there that go, oh wow, this guy, this is done really well. It's
Right.
produced well.
Yeah.
So that's all important too. You know.
That's that's so I just released an album I don't know, I want to say a month ago now.
Mhm.
And what's really interesting about it is, like, I just kind of started recording actually right here where I'm sitting. I started just started recording, just to kind of put some songs together. and it started sounding really good. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this sounds really really good. Like I got good dead space. Like this is like and I am an engineer. I know what I'm doing, and I got good gear and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's my first barbecue, right? But I laid it all down, and it sounded pretty good. Then I erased the entire thing, and I did it again,
Mhm.
um, and it sounded really good. And I mixed it, I produced it. I really, 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 really liked it, but it wasn't mastered. And so I sat there and did some researching on mastering, and I'm going, you know what? No, no. I know how to engineer. I know how to produce. I know how to mix. I don't know how to master a record. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do this. So, reluctantly, I called my friend who does this for a living, and I said, hey,
Right.
man, I got this mix. Shoot it your way. And he did. And he smashed it. He did it,
It's a
and he
big
gave it
difference,
back
isn't
to
it?
me. And oh my gosh, now it's like has this pump to it. And
It's like putting
now,
on a buffering machine and you buffer it up.
yeah, now it's this great, great record. And he made it make sense. You know what I mean? When I had it, I mean, I was about to release it just because I was like scared. You know what I mean? Let's get something out there that I'm like, no, hold on a minute, let's back up, back up. So I gave it another couple of months and just did it right, like exactly what you said. And I'm so thankful that I did.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's and a lot of times too when people are creating their own album, they have a tendency to like hear it over and over again. And Michael Mucklow, because he was the one that did all the engineering with us, he'd always say, "I have ear fatigue." He would say, and ear fatigue is not good because you're hearing it, and you think it's fine, but it's really not.
right.
And I remember we sent it out to get it mastered, and when we got it back, we were like, "Whoa, this is pretty incredible! It's a big difference."
Yeah.
So, I mean, so yeah, leave it up to the pros. I mean, we can all record. You can actually record even on if you got GarageBand or if you got a good mic, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in your home, like
Yeah.
at some good dead space. Me and Michael recorded the bridge, which won a NAMI, and it did really well. We recorded in a like a storage unit. It was like a tiny storage, a shed. It was actually a shed, believe it or not. And we recorded in there, and that album did really well.
Yeah.
Uh, we sent it to get it mastered, and the master knew what to do with it. You
Right.
know, like when I was with Harlan from Venice, we did an album called Red Beaten Path,
Mm.
and we had it mastered. At Bernie Grumman, I think it's
Oh
called. Yeah,
yeah, I know Bernie
Hollywood.
Grunman. Yeah.
In Hollywood, and I was sitting in there with the guy who was mastering it, and I looked down and I picked up this reel, and it had Beck on it. And I go, "You got to be kidding me! This is Beck's album?" You go, "Yeah, that's Beck's
Uh
album." I go,
huh.
"I'm holding Beck's album." So I mean, these guys were like they'd done Michael
Oh
Jackson,
yeah, I know all about Bernie Grumman Studios. Absolutely.
very expensive, but we did it, and that album, I experimented because I did the flute dry. Believe it or not, there was absolutely nothing on it. It was just dry. So if you ever listen to Red Beaten Path, we experimented with a lot of things, and I did it dry, completely dry, no effects, not even
Wow.
reverb,
Right.
and it sounded different, but it gave it a different flavor. And Red Beaten Path turned out to be pretty cool.
Wow.
Uh, and Bernie Grumman, they did the mastering on it, and it was big difference. It was like, whoa,
Yeah.
you listen to it, you go, that's amazing what they did with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But Harden Steinberger, he's amazing. He's an amazing engineer, and so it's so you want to experiment, you want to try different things,
Yeah.
like people like you did your flute dry, yeah, why not,
That's unreal to me. It's like I would never think about doing that, but it's like I can imagine it gives it this texture unlike anything else. You know what
Yeah,
I
and
mean?
I experimented with sounds of the flute. I just didn't just play the flute. I would do certain sounds, like little hummingbird. There's a song. There's so many different ones. Red Beaten Path was another one. Matter of fact, on tour we played a lot of the songs off that album, and and then we did Fuego, which was from the El Cerrito studios up in San Francisco, and they did their mastering and everything there. But that was more of a his more of a Latin. It was a Latin feel. And that was a really neat one because I never did anything for my mom. My mom was from Mexico, and so that was dedicated to my mom. And we did Fuego was a really neat album with Nelson Rios and Butch and then Dave Rand. It was pretty incredible. We had a guitarist, Brian. He was an amazing guitarist. He did the guitar parts, but it was a flavor that it was very. It wasn't pure Latin, but it had the flavor of Latin.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I love. I mean, it sounds like you just like collaborated a whole bunch, and and it's funny because you said that you don't like the band thing, and I was like, yes, it's me. It's like I'm the same way. It's like
it's hard.
it's
It's
hard.
hard.
Yeah,
But,
but
but
there's
let me tell you something though. But like I have an East Coast band and a West Coast band, and I'll tell you though, when you're on stage and you have a band, and I should try to rephrase that. I don't the band thing's hard when it comes to logistics,
yes,
but when you're on stage with your band, it's the best thing in the world
that's what I
because
was.
you're
Yeah,
camaraderie. You can feel the energy from your band
yeah,
and then you have a big crowd out there. There's nothing better. I'd rather have a band behind me than backtracks. I mean, but any day.
yeah,
But it is logistically, it could be a headache,
yeah, yeah.
but not
Yeah,
on stage. It's not a
yeah.
headache.
No, see, that's my whole headache. I mean, I did only bands for the longest time. You know what I mean? Rock bands and punk bands and metal bands and
It's
folk
tough.
bands and country bands and all this kind of stuff. And usually fronted them in some way or at least wrote all the songs. And then of course you got to rely. They're always your friends. You know what I mean? And then you got to rely on them. And then someone doesn't show up and doesn't do this or da 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 da. Just all that stuff happens. And then you go on tour, and then you get the contracts fall through, and like you're gonna bring an attorney out to Bozeman, Montana at 2 o'clock in the morning, and those things, and
You've done that one, right?
yeah, and so it's just all that stuff happens, and then finally I went on my own. You know what I mean? And once I went on my own, I found myself missing that so much, like missing that fire between each other.
Camaraderie. Yeah,
Yeah, the
camaraderie. hmm
the the feeding back and forth, sitting there playing guitar and going, yeah, yeah, okay, okay, and the bass player is going, no, no, okay, hold, just that thing that happens. You know what I mean? I miss it.
Or if you have somebody that plays the wrong tune at the wrong time, I
Yeah.
mean, I had that happen to me.
Oh God.
I played a gig once where I brought in this pianist, and he was kind of a keyboardist, but I didn't know him, but he was playing, and he wouldn't. It was a blues song, and he wouldn't end his solo. He kept going and going and going. So I turned around and I got really mad at him. It's like, will you end this? I got mad at him, but I didn't know that my wife was recording me at the time. So we were live, and I'm over there telling him, and I said a few words that I won't repeat right now, but will you end this? Blah, 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 blank, blank, blank.
Right.
And he finally got out of it, and I was like, oh my God, this was a nightmare. So sometimes you bring somebody new and you don't know them. It's like,
Yeah.
you got to be careful because, wow,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
turned around and I got mad at him. And my wife happened to be right there with a camera.
That's
It's
so
like,
funny.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. You know what?
but it,
I think that's what 2020 is far. Everything's so weird and all this stuff. But I think that's what it's done for me. Is like, it's kind of like, I mean, I've gained probably 10 new virtual friends that I've never met in person, but I meet with them on Zoom all the time, and we're collaborating and we're talking and we're working together. And like now I feel like I'm in a band again because I have probably 10 projects going on. You know what I mean? With several different people. I'm writing a sound healing record with this guy that I used to play with, and it's going to be based off of crystal bowls, but it's going to be or Tibetan bowls. So it's going to be Tibetan bowls as the foundation. Then we're going to put some acoustic guitar and then flutes. You know what I mean? And just see what And I've all these random projects, and I'm finding more and more how kind of like a introverted person I am. I seem like I'm all, you know what I mean, but realistically I'm home, and that's a really big part of why I'm good like this. You know what I mean? I could also hit stop streaming whenever I want to.
yeah,
But it's I'm meeting these really cool people that really like to be accountable in music and stuff. And I think that's really what it is for me. Is I'm I'm blunt in the way that where like I really need people that I'm creating with to be really accountable, and that's important for me to do the same thing. And I'm really hard on myself, as most people will know who work with me. But yeah, and so I guess it's kind of given me my band back. 2020 has in a weird way. I'm not in a band. You know what I mean? I'm Tommy Graven. I have a band, and we played a show 2 months before everything happened. Sold the place out too. It was great. But
2020 kind of was one of the, I guess it's probably goes down as the weirdest year ever.
yeah,
The
definitely.
last day of it. So that's when we got something to look forward to. Something's going to change. I mean, tomorrow is a new day, a
Yeah,
new
yeah, yeah. Tomorrow
year.
I'm actually playing a concert on Facebook. I haven't done that in a long time, so I'm gonna be playing my new album front to back tomorrow.
Oh, good.
And I haven't done that before, so that'll be fun. Over on Facebook, I don't usually go live on Facebook because this is my thing over here, but I try to stay away from Facebook, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I
Yeah,
mean, I do too, to
yeah,
be
yeah,
honest with you. But it's nice that I kind of use it more for just throwing funny stuff out there, just
yeah,
kind of
yeah. No, it's definitely fun, and I'm on it
light up
all
the
the
world a
time.
little bit, instead
Yeah,
of being so heavy into things.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I'm sure appreciate you having me on though,
yeah,
Tommy.
man. Um, Brent just says, I think that many artists are introverted until they get to play. Man, that's spot on for me.
Really?
As soon as I'm on stage, you would think that I'm some sort of philanthropist or something. You know what I mean? That I'm out there because I assume on stage I'm like, even though inside I'm like, but
Yeah.
I'm like free and I could like I'm
Oh
so uncomfortable, but I for whatever reason I could just like
no, that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, like when I get on stage, I feel like I'm at my happiest,
yeah,
and then when I'm off stage, I mean, I do like to intermix with the crowds. I like to talk to people.
me
I mean, I
too,
do really enjoy that.
me too.
Uh, but there's always that going into that room by yourself somewhere where you're alone, and that feels good too.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then you go back to your little cocoon.
yeah.
But it's nice to come out of the cocoon and do your job and intermix with people because I love people. I really, really love. I love talking to people. I like being in the middle there, just getting to know people, and I really like that. But I do like to go back to the little cocoon and close up, be in
Yeah,
there. You know,
yeah. A warm cup of coffee or tea or
there you go.
yeah,
Or in
yeah,
my case, a glass of scotch.
yeah. You're right on, man.
I
Yeah.
love scotch.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't. I'm no longer a drinker just because well, because I'm too good at it is just what I tell you
Well,
is
I
just
became too good at it too, and I stopped for a while. But I learned. It's like you get older, you kind of like start learning more
yeah.
discipline. So I've been more disciplined, but I enjoy it. Not every day, but I enjoy it. So
I
that's how you look at it.
yeah, I I know myself good enough right now to where I know that I'd have to have it every day, and that's
Yeah,
why.
well, if you got that feeling, then don't go there. Don't go
Yeah.
there. I was depending on it too much when I was on tour, and it can get to be a crutch.
Yeah. But man, I mean, maybe there will, there will be a day when I can, sit down and enjoy a good scotch again. But so enjoy
Yeah,
one for me,
one of
brother.
these days. Don't rush it.
Oh, not at all, not at all, man. Enjoy one for me, man.
I will.
So yeah, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us, man. This is so cool, and I'll go ahead and shut down our little meeting, and then I'll just catch up with you a little bit
Okay,
later, and then I'll finish off with our show, man.
sounds good.
So, man, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Nice seeing
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, everyone says thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy New Year. So, man, thank you so much, man. And I
honor.
want you to know that if you ever wanted to come by here, anything you got to promote, anything that you want to talk about, or just to hang out, man, I would love to have you, and I'd be honored to have you as many times as you ever want to come back. So,
Yeah.
all right,
thank,
man.
thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. You have a good day, man. All right, I'm gonna shut down the meeting, and I'll talk with you guys in a little bit. All right. Thanks, Steven.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good one. All right. Bye bye.
All right, guys. We are here. We are here. Wow. 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 Can you guys believe that just happened? Are we still here, guys? Is everyone here? Wow. That was so cool. Um, hey, take it easy, Brent. Thanks for hanging out, man. Thank you so much for hanging out. Wow. That was so great. That was so great. You guys are so cool. Let's look at this information real quick again. So yeah, Stephen Rushingwind, everyone. Here's his website. Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. He's an amazing artist, sculpture. Check out all of his stuff. I'll even go back to the other screen. You probably won't be able to see him, but it's okay. You'll just see this screen over there, whatever. But yeah, see this over here? Rushingwind-art.com. Check out all of his stuff. I mean, guys, if I cry on you, whatever. I don't even care. This was huge, guys. This was really, 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 really big. Thank you so much for hanging out for this show. We even had some technical difficulties and we got through it. And I think I learned something actually, so that's fantastic. We just had Stephen Rushingwind on this show, guys. That's just unreal to me. We just had Stephen Rushingwind on this show. Monday we had Adam Revere. Adam Revere has been in Stephen Rushingwind's band before. I really think that this show just kind of went to the next level today. I'm very emotional right now. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, guys. I'm going to put everything I got into this show. Every single thing that I got into this show. So tomorrow, I'm going to be playing live. I have a live concert on Facebook tomorrow. I'm going to be playing my entire album, Learn to Listen, Listen to Learn. Man. So, yeah, that's going to be happening tomorrow. That's at 11, I believe, tomorrow morning, PST, Pacific Standard Time. And I will be going live on Twitch tomorrow. And there's a possibility I might try to go live on Twitch and Facebook at the same time. So those of you who want to come and hang out on Twitch, you could do that instead of Facebook and support Twitch instead of Facebook. So I'm thinking about doing that, but it's definitely going to be on Facebook. So come see me then as far as that goes. But tomorrow's show here is probably going to be a lot of kind of me just winging it and setting up. You know what I mean? I might play a flute or whatever, but it's probably just going to be me be setting up for the concert, really. So come and hang out. It'll be fun. You know, we'll be doing something. I'll have music playing. Something will happen. You know what I mean? So I will be going live tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, all that kind of stuff. But it's gonna be a little bit different. It's just I'm not gonna be like really doing a full show because I'm gonna be playing live for about an hour or so on Facebook. So I learned a lot. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Loie Dean. Mama Dean. God, thank you everyone for cheering with bits and everything. That means so much to me. It really, really helps out the channel. So thank you for cheering with the bits. I think they're called, right? The bits, all the stuff that keeps popping up. Thanks for doing all that stuff. Thanks for donating. If you haven't donated, if you feel like it is in the about section, that really helps support the channel and the guests that come on the show. So you learned a lot, Sarah. That's awesome. So did I. That was a really neat conversation, wasn't it? That was really neat to, that was the first time I've actually really gotten to talk to Steven other than like text message and, an email and stuff like that, and, it's really neat. Like, we're really on the same page. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sarah, for the 100 bits. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. Oh, I love you guys. Yeah, we're very much on the same page. You know what I mean? It was neat to hear all this stuff. You know what I mean? And he's done all these things that I want to do. You know what I mean? That's so inspiring to me. He just took time out of his day and came hang out with us. I'm like, sorry, I'm overwhelmed and I'm kind of like tripping. Thank you for cheering, Sarah. That is so cool. And thank you for figuring it out because I don't understand how to do it. I don't know how any of this stuff works. But yeah, gosh, guys, huge show today. Really big show. Um, I started with a song. Thank you, Lloydine. Thank you. And I'm gonna end with a song. Um, yeah, Steven's so great. Wasn't that cool, Helen? It was so neat. It was like humbling, you know. It was like humbling to hear someone with a career like his, you know what I mean, as at a caliber as his, to talk about the same problems that we all have. You know what I mean? It's like we're just human beings. You know what I mean? We're just human beings, you know? The biggest celebrity in the world, you know what I mean, probably likes cornflakes. You know what I mean? Like um we're just all human beings, and man, I'm just so honored. Wow. Rushingwind just came on the show. Unreal. Unreal. All right, I'm going to play you guys a song. And since I was talking about this flute, this signature flute from High Spirits, I want to play it. It's in the key of G. Um, and I really like this flute. It's different. It's definitely different than anything else. Um, oh, thank you, Lloydine, for donating. Thank you. Thank you. Good, awesome, Sarah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, you know, get out of your own way. You know what I mean? I think everything, you know, whatever you want to do, it really just depends on you. You know what I mean? If you want to sound like someone else, then, you know, okay, work on all of those things that they do really well that you like, and perfect them or get really good at them, and then forget all about it and go back to you. And now you got those tricks that you can use with you. You know what I mean? Um, Perfect example. I don't know if Timothy Gomez is here. I hope he is. Um, huge, huge for me. Timothy Gomez is a really big inspiration for me. I love the way he plays. Um, there's something about the way he plays, and I really like the way he's able to his control, his tongue control, mouth control stuff that he does at the end of it. A lot of his phrases and melodies are just, they're so cool. I love the way he has this control that's just, it's very cool. I don't have that control, but it's very inspiring to me. And so um, I've always done. I mean, a lot of folks know me for a lot of my this stuff. You know me, that kind of stuff. But yes, Timothy Gomez in my way. I love it. Yeah, um he's inspired me to, it's like I'm doing those things that I do at different times, and you know, so it's like, it's funny lately, like I'll be thinking about him a lot, like the way he plays on the way out of a phrase or something. I'm like, oh yeah, that thing that he does, you know what I mean? Same thing with Johnny Lipford, you know what I mean? So Johnny Lipford is like, he's like smooth as butter. Like you don't, I don't think there's a smoother player out there right now than Johnny. You know what I mean? He plays that flute like a saxophone. You know what I mean? Like saxophone has like that, I don't know. He plays that thing like a saxophone. You know what I mean? And so he has that. You did hear your ears ringing, brother. I'm talking about you. Yeah, man. I was just talking about the stuff, the way you play, man. At the end, you know what I mean? It's been really inspiring me lately, you know, and just talking to all these just, you know, flutes and everything, man. It's like, I mean, flute players. We just had Stephen Rushingwind on here. You know what I mean? Like, wow, you know, and he's, the way he, like, I'm just rambling, guys, but so what? Like the way Stevens plays, it's like, is very sporadic is the wrong word, but it's very these are my words, but I don't know, for me it's like animalistic, you know what I mean? It's like he's really like touching this primal thing. I don't know. I don't know. It's like he does these little runs that are quick and then smooth and stuff. And so it's like these are all my heroes. You know what I mean? We got Johnny Lipford who plays so smooth like a saxophone. We got Rushingwind that plays with that intricacy, but that like it's his rhythm. It's his rhythm. That's what it is. It's his rhythm. Rushingwind's rhythm is unlike anyone else. He does these polyrhythms in his songs with his melodies that I don't think people realize that he's doing it unless you're a music nerd like I am. But he's doing his rhythm. His rhythm that he plays is like you would. It's like that's him. You know what I'm saying? To use that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And then he leaves space. And then Timothy does this stuff with his at the end of his phrases. I can't do it like he does, but it's all inspiring. You know what I mean? I think about all these players when I play. I think about you guys when I play. I think about oh, thanks, Timothy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just think about all these guys, and I think about you guys too. Some of you guys have been my students before, or you've been to my concerts, or I've played a concert with you. I think about you guys. Sarah, I remember your performance on stage. I remember that very, very, very well. Um, I remember afterwards you telling me that you were really nervous, and I couldn't tell whatsoever when you played. It was awesome. That was such a cool show. You know what I mean? To me,